Commissioners, at this time I'd like to call on Interim Chairman George Chambers to offer an invocation, please, and Commissioner Tommy Lee to offer our pledge, please. So y'all please bow your heads with me. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you this afternoon to thank you for everything that you've done for us and all that you're going to do for us, Lord. And I pray that you will give us wisdom and guidance and direction as we deliberate and conduct the business of Carroll County, Lord, that the things that we say and the things that we do and the way that we conduct ourselves will be pleasing in thy sight and be beneficial to our citizens and beneficial to your kingdom, Lord. And Lord, I just, as always, say a special prayer and a special thank you to all of our men and women in uniform, whether they be our first responders or whether they be serving overseas or at home in our military, Lord. Just bless them and bless their families now. And I just pray all these things in your precious Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Let us stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee.
Yes, sir.
First item on the agenda, agenda item 9.1, is a financial recap. Call on County Comptroller Alicia Searcy.
I don't have that prepared at this time.
Okay.
I'll have it ready on Tuesday.
All right. Next item is a consideration and approval of the employee bonus plan. Or do you?
Okay, there should be a sheet that has a breakdown.
Okay. Is it on our iPads?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That'll be the bonuses that we discussed previously.
Okay, thank you.
We'd like to get those approved.
Mr. Chairman, I had spoken about this before, and everybody's got their own opinion. I'm all for the staff, a big proponent of that. I think the concern that I have is calling this a bonus, and an employee could have been here for 6 months and is essentially going to receive the same amount of money as somebody that's been here for 10 or 15 years. And I'm not trying to state that I think the employees have to be here for 15 years to get a bonus, but that's a considerable amount of money, and I'm for us taking care of the staff. I just have some hesitation that I've never heard of another organization, and I'm sure there are some, I've just not heard of them, that within a 6-month period you would qualify for a bonus of that substance. So that's just some of my concern.
Absolutely, that's what we're here to work through. So would staff like to address that any further?
I was using the plan that we had used last year, and that's just in general what we had discussed, but I think it's open for discussion.
I think we had some discussions at the retreat of how we're going to move forward from here on bonuses and raises and that kind of thing.
That's correct.
So
the other things will be addressed in next year's budget. Right. So that you are correct in that.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? All right, moving along. The consideration of the FY19 budget amendment advertisement.
That'll be prepared and ready on Tuesday.
As well as the proposed FY 2019-20 budget.
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And that'll be also the advertisement for that budget.
Yes, ma'am. Moving on, item 9.5, consideration of FY19 budget resolution. Call on County Attorney Stacy Blackman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. That's the one-page sheet you have in front of you at your, and it's just a resolution. It's a continuing budget resolution. In the event we don't have a quorum because of the election, we want to continue operating under the current budget that we have until we're able to adopt the fiscal year end 2020 budget, and it authorizes the chairman to do so. Any questions? Okay. Thank you.
So just to verify, the chairman would still have the capability, is $12,500 on an
Right.
planned expense that he or she could still operate through. So.
That's correct. You still have the 12.5
But still,
authorization.
nothing changes other than you're still operating with the constraints of the code and the charter.
Correct.
But we're still operating under the same previously approved budget. Is that a fair way to state?
That's
state
correct.
that? Okay.
Thank you.
Does that get what you need?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, item 9.6, FY20 Liability and Risk Management Insurance Renewal. Call on Mr. Bobby Stewart from J. Smith Lanier, please.
Good afternoon. What we have is the early indication in front of you as far as the bottom line is concerned. The coverages are, you know, there's very little change. We're still tweaking some areas with the underwriters. We hope that we can get this number down a little bit more, and we will work on that in the interim time that we have. That's always our goal, but when you're this far out, it's anytime you're outside of 60 days, you're sort of never land, and we will continue to work on this, but it won't be any worse than what you're looking at. Are there any questions about it as proposed?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I just need some time to review it, and I'm gonna have a question on Tuesday, but, you know,
Absolutely.
would have to have the opportunity to review the information first.
Ms. Chance, I will not be here, but I am joined by my associate, Mr. Newton Jennings, from our office. Newton and I have worked together now since he's been with us over 20 years. I just happened to be out of town for 2 days next week, and that's it. And
Yes, sir.
that happens to be the 23rd. But he'll be up to speed on any developments and any questions you might have.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
You good with that, Clint?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is not on the agenda, but I would like to call on Miss Ann Lee with the HR Department to bring us an update on our employee insurance.
Okay, thank you, Chairman and Board of Commissioners. I'm going to talk a little bit. Can you imagine that?
Ann, can you pull that down a little bit? I don't know if that's picking up for you. It is, okay.
Is
All
that
right.
good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks, so.
Thank you for the opportunity. I began my journey with Carroll County government in August of 2001. This year, I will complete 18 years of service. And over the past 18 years, we've had 18 open enrollment meetings where we have to re-enroll 560 employees each year for our new fiscal year in July. In 2007, we actually had 2 open enrollment meetings. Guess what? We had a bad renewal that year. So we had to have 2 enrollment sessions because we had to go back to the drawing board and rediscuss what we were going to propose for that year. The county has made some tough decisions over the last 18 years. We've increased deductibles, we've increased co-pays, we've added specialist copay, we've increased out-of-pocket expense, we've increased pharmacy cost, and we've added 3 additional plan design options. A lot of tough decisions. But one thing I can say, we always put the employee first. We always went back to the table, and we always tried to think of how it was going to affect the employee, their pocketbook, and the benefits for their dependents. Every day, we turn on the TV and we hear about health cost. People are going without insurance. Employers are stopping their insurance plans because they would prefer to pay the penalty as to pay the cost for the insurance. That's not what we've tried to do. We've tried to continue to offer our employees the best insurance that we possibly can. We've always tried to make the best decisions. Last year, when our renewal came in, it was a 7% increase. I just was not going to have that. I'm a fighter. We were able to negotiate it down to a flat 0% increase. The first year in 17 years that Carroll County, since I've been on board, has ever had a flat increase. I attribute a lot of that to the wellness program, which really went into place that year. People became more aware of their health. They didn't like what we were doing, but they became more aware of what was going on. It's always stressful this time of year because in January we start meeting with the broker and we start talking about the new year, what's going to happen, what we think is coming down the pike. And it happened the same this year. All of us were brought to the table. It's just not Ann Lee who's sitting at the table. But all of us sitting at the table are trying to look at the best decisions for our employees. Remember, our employees are our #1 asset.
That's right. Amen.
So in January when we met, we talked. They left. In February, we gave them a census, and the process began. I did not talk to anybody in March, and it was probably not until the 1st of April that I began getting calls. And this year, they came back with a 3% increase. I fought hard again. I just was not going to have it. We met with them yesterday, and they came to the table. We have a flat increase, 2 years in a row.
Can I stop you right there just for a second? This is just for the benefit of everybody up here. Yesterday morning during that meeting, if you had pulled up on Wikipedia or whatever you like to look up and tried to find definition of kid at Christmas, that's what she was. So.
Absolutely. Not only was it a flat increase for medical, but a flat increase on dental, a flat increase on vision. The long-term disability, the life insurance did not go out to bid. It was a 2-year rate guarantee. And as we were sitting there talking about all of this, I became so excited because this is 2 years in a row. Not only did we get a flat increase, but what is even greater about it is that the premiums that the employees are going to be paying are the same. There's no increase there. We will continue with Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield for medical and dental, and we will continue with IMED for our vision. I know I've thanked all of you so many times in the past, but I want to publicly thank each one of you. When I began in August of 2001, I was a one-man show. It was not until July of 2008 that the board gave me one full-time position. In 2015, purchasing was restructured and another full-time position was moved to HR. I felt like I was in heaven. In July of 2017, last year, or 18, last year was 18, you awarded me one more person. I really felt like I was in heaven. I just want to publicly thank all of you because it's not a one-man show what goes on in human resources. So I want all of you to know how much I appreciate each one of you. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate your trust in human resources. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
Good
questions
job,
for
man.
me?
Thank you.
Any questions?
Congratulations on your flat renewal. Thank you.
Like I said, I know that wasn't on the agenda, but don't think that I brought you bad news, so, all right, next item on the agenda, item 9.7, update on the John Tanner Park Group Lodge. Call on Ben Skipper, Parks Director, please, sir.
Since we've talked about this last time, we've removed the floor, and the floor joists are rotten from the band boards. So ultimately, we're still peeling back to see how far it goes, but it's very manageable. And anyone that's done any renovations, this is not a, it's not an end of the building by no means. But we will need to pull the floor up back a little bit more. Looks like it'll be around about a third, maybe around 40% of the building that we'll have to tear out the walls, replace the band boards, and replace the flooring system, and then put the walls back up, and then put new flooring down, and we should have it and be back open. And I would like to be back open by the midsummer. So, because that's as y'all know, the group lodge is a very, very popular destination for families, and we have families that have been doing their annual family reunions there for 40+ years. Mm-hmm. So we are eager to get that back open as soon as possible.
Any questions for Ben?
Mr. Skipper, is this going to be paid out of SPLOST funding, or do you have this in your budget, or where would this come from?
It'll be out of the park SPLOST. We don't have that much in building repair maintenance. It is a line item.
Okay.
Anyone else? Hearing none, thank you, Ben. Appreciate that. Next item, Little Tallapoosa Park Pavilions. Going to call on District 3 Commissioner Tommy Lee. Please, sir.
Yes, this is to be, fellow commissioners, this is to be around the splash park. If you go out there when the splash park is open, the whole grass is just covered with people laying on towels or sitting in chairs. And my understanding is we're getting a lot of calls for rental on pavilions for birthday parties. So we've been trying to get these for a couple of years, and Miss Morgan, she has been involved. And I'm requesting the funds to put those two pavilions. And Ben, I think, can take it.
Right. What we can attest to at the park is that several parents are wanting to rent the entire facility out to be a private event. So, and as you know, we're open to the public at the park. So our solution to that is to build two pavilions, and we're talking about small pavilions around the park, add a bathroom, because currently we have just 2 potties there, so we need to add a few more restrooms and add more parking. We don't have enough parking. The only thing I can say is that the Board of Commissioners and the Carroll County Parks Department has exactly what it wants in this splash pad: success.
Yes.
And it's successful to the point that it needs to expand.
My wife can attest. I ride through in the summer lots of times, and I see those little kids running and playing. It just thrills me to death to see them enjoying it.
Do we have any idea on a revenue matrix? I mean, so if we built these and I rented that, then the public wouldn't have access to it. That'd be for my private birthday party or whatever.
That's exactly right, because when the private birthday party would have the pavilion, and they would just share the splash pad with the public.
Yeah, they're not renting the splash park.
Right, because the pad is open to the public, so they would have their birthday party at one of the pavilions around the pad.
Okay.
So they could have their cake, and, the moms and dads have the balloons and, the other things that the kids have out there for their parties.
Do you have it? I mean, do you have a cost in mind? I mean, is it a nominal fee, or what you would try to? I mean, I would support the idea. I'm just trying to look at. We're talking about bringing in revenue, and so I'm just trying to figure out what the offset would be.
The revenue would be, we would just match it up along with the other park pavilions, and the Board of Commissioners sets that fee every year. So, and when you get your park report from Beth Parsons, the park manager, she has Little Tallapoosa broken down into what you can see. You can see the horse camping, you can see RV camping, you can see tent camping, and you can see the pavilions. The spray and splash. So when the pavilions come online, the pavilions will be a line item by itself, and you'll be able to track that revenue for those.
Any idea on the parking lot, how many more cars that would park?
We will be 18, I think we'll be adding 24 more parking spaces to that area, and then we have extended parking. You just have to walk. We have parking at the facility where the bathrooms and showers are, and we have parking where most of our walkers and hikers use it there at the lower lake. So there's extended parking there. But with most people, what we're having to do now is, because we're running out of parking space and we put sod around the spray and splash, is we're having to barricade it off with cones, because people are just pulling up into the sod and, you know, and rutting it up.
Making a mud hole.
Right.
Is some of this, would some of this be done in-house, these costs, or is this trying to have someone come in and do everything? I mean, I see obviously Carroll EMC, but I mean, it's something as far as the tables or grills, is that anything we would build or do anything in-house?
What we're looking at those is buying the tables and grills. And that way they'd be from a vendor and would meet, you know, typical park specs, instead of trying to build something. The buildings, the actual pavilions, if Charles Pope has, if Danny and his building crew is available to build them, we can definitely build them. The difficulty is just getting on the building crew schedule. And so what we bid it out would be market price on these pavilions. So, but we would do the piping and the parking lot in-house, but the septic system would be done by a licensed contractor. The plumber would be done by a licensed plumber. Concrete we could do in-house for the sidewalk to attach the pavilions to the other ones. But the actual, you know, versus, you know, once all that's in, if we contracted it out, it could be open in probably in less than 2 weeks. If we do it in-house, it could take 2 months or more. So what Commissioner Lee asked us for was a market price, that it could be subbed out items, and then any obviously leftover would just go back into the SPLOST fund.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate the information.
Anyone else have questions on that issue? All right, hearing none, we'll move along to item 9.9. Call on District 5 Commissioner Lee Powers for request for City of Whitesburg.
Yes, fellow commissioners, you know, I love helping our cities out, and I've been able to help Brookville out. And Whitesburg came to me a couple months ago asking for some money to help them with a new city hall. First, I didn't feel comfortable until I saw all the paperwork that they was wanting to do. And I think, did we ever get the land worked out, Susan? We never, where they donated it, where we bought the land.
Yeah, we gave them money to buy green space.
But did they ever get that worked out? Okay. Well, anyway, that has to be worked out, because where they're wanting to put this new city hall is where the county bought some land, and I think it was designated for green space, but they're asking us, would we consider to take that the regulation off the green space so they could place the city hall there. It's up on Main Street where if y'all been in Whitesburg, where the old house is, they're gonna move that old house back. So if we can get that worked out, I would like for us to consider giving them $100,000 so to help our cities, to help the city of Whitesburg, and it would come out of the fund District 5.
And Lee, while you're there, do you want to go ahead and discuss your other 2 items on the agenda, please?
Yes, I received an email from the Friends of Whitesburg Library, and they're needing some help on some things, and I called and I talked to them, and I would also like to give $20,000 to the city of Whitesburg Library for I think they're needing some movies and books and other things, but I'd like for it to be used just for the city of Whitesburg. I don't want it to go in the region. It needs to stay in the city of Whitesburg.
Any questions for Commissioner Powers on that from the board?
I mean, I think you and I had generally discussed some of this before, but just making sure you understood that
I do.
there's a lot of
I do.
technicalities of how that money can be used
I do.
in such a small library. I'm certainly in favor of you trying to help the libraries out. I just didn't want there to be a false understanding that that could just be written to pay for anything.
I understand, and they understand what the money would have to be used for.
And that's out of District 5.
Yes, sir, it is.
And item 911,
Yes, the Friends of Macintosh has came to me several times over the past years since I've been in office, and they do a lot of walk and talks and a lot of things in the wintertime and in the summertime when the temperature's hot. And they've requested us to build them a pavilion that's conditioned with heat and air. And I was thinking about it, and you know, Ben and Mr. Pope has already conditioned one of them. So I talked to Ben this week and asked him, could we take that pavilion beside the old park ranger and enclose it, put heat and air, make it nice. Still want it when we do it, Ben, I'd like to make it fit Macintosh, make it look like a rustic area, but make it so they can meet when the weather is either super hot or super cold. But they've been requesting that for a while, and I think it'd be a nice gesture to help them out down there. And that would be $30,000.
That's also out of District 5.
I was hoping that District 3 might donate us a little money on that one.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yes, it would be out of District 5.
All right, thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Item 9, these Roman numerals all running together, so many of them. Item 912, I suppose, 11. Is that right? 12. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4 watch. I'm sorry, I don't read Roman. I didn't grow up in Rome. Call on Public Works Director Charles Pope. And Charles, if you'll just stay up, because we've got several items in line here, all of which pertain to you. So if you'll start with the Tias Bridge, should be Tias Road Bridge project, but
Yeah,
we know what we're talking about anyway.
The Tias Carrollton Road Bridge that we've been working on for about 10 years now, trying to get replaced. So we think it's coming down hopefully next week. We sent out the bids, and we had a pre-bid meeting on the bridge replacement on 329. We had 3 companies to show up and sign in for that. But we do have a total of 9 contractors that has actually paid and picked up the plans for the bridge. So that should come in good. And we will be opening the bids next Monday. I think at 10 o'clock. Yeah.
That's at 10 o'clock, yes, sir.
Yeah, on that, and then we'll have all the numbers for the meeting next Tuesday.
And if you'll go on with the restriping and pavement markings.
I'm sorry.
The restriping and pavement markings
Yeah.
contracts.
What we're doing, we're bidding out 50 miles of restriping of the roads, and I've got $65,000 of that money in state money, but we're hoping it's going to come in around $215. The rest of it will come out of the money that you put in for us to do striping. And then I just turned in the paperwork this week to the DOT to hopefully get 70 more miles of striping, which would be $350,000 coming to us with no matching funds for that. So we should end up with about 120 miles of striping.
And those bids are open on Monday also, correct?
What district? would that be?
6.
In that District 5, Mr. Pope, you're gonna run that striping?
Just drop your dirt roads.
Okay, item 914, I think, the grinding and removal of the yard waste.
We sent out the bid specs in the bid package to bid on the grinding for solid waste. We have done this grinding since 1994. 2 years ago, they couldn't get rid of the grinding, so we had to haul it to Harrison County. So the only person that bid it on it was Tag Grinding out of Marietta.
And what were we paying Harrison County at that time?
We're paying Harrison County $34 a ton, plus trucking, which is 3-hour round trip for trucking. So Tag Grinding come in at $24 a ton, so that'll be a big savings, and hopefully they'll start next week if y'all approve it at our next meeting.
And also, another big savings is we don't have the trucking on it anymore.
That's correct.
They do it all on site. Okay, item 915, pickup trucks for public works, parks, and fire rescue.
What we have for the
In fact, if you just want to
Ford
discuss all three of those items at once would be,
okay, all right. The Ford F-150s are equivalent. We are purchasing 3 of them, 1 for parks, 2 for fire. Then we're purchasing 1 F-150 XLT or equivalent, so there'll be 1 of them. 2 F-250s or the 2500 series or equivalent, be 2 of them for public works. The SUVs, which is we spec'd out the Tahoes or equivalent, be 1 for fire and 2 for the prison, which will be transport vehicles, a total of 9 vehicles altogether.
Are we bidding those out?
And I'd like to make note that you know, everybody had a chance to bid on these. It went out on the county's website. They went out on the state's website. And only one person in the county that, one dealer in the county that bidded on them was Don Rich Ford out of Villarica.
Thank you.
By next week, we should have everything put together and ready to present to you. But we will be leaning toward the Ford products, because that's what we got now in our fleet. If we go to another brand of vehicle, then we've got to buy all new diagnostic stuff for the shop, the mechanics and all. You know, we just don't have no other product other than GM and Ford in our fleet.
Well, the Ford is the only one that turned the bid back in, right? Is that what I understood?
What, I'm sorry?
Don Rich was the only one that responded to the bid, right?
No, we had dealers out of Union City, Macon, and Valdosta.
Okay.
But the only one in the county.
The only one in Carroll County that bid.
That's correct. Don
Okay.
Rich was the only dealer in Carroll County that responded to our bids.
Okay, okay, thank you.
all right, any more questions for Mr. Pope while we got him here?
Mr. Chairman, where will the bid opening take place on Monday?
Bid openings, where will they be?
On Monday, we'll be at Public Works.
Yeah, the bridge and the striping will be at Public Works at 10 o'clock.
I thought that was right, Ms. Sue, but I just wanted to make sure. I said I thought that was correct at Public Works, but I just wanted to make sure. Any more questions for Mr. Pope? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, we'll bypass zoning and go to our last item, which is item 1017, I guess. Zoning ordinance amendment, regardless. Call on Avery Jackson, County Attorney, and I apologize, I just don't read Roman numerals too good, so.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is a resolution to codify the county's zoning ordinance. This doesn't make any changes to the zoning ordinance. This moves the zoning ordinance from a standalone ordinance that is maintained at the Community Development Department to be codified with the county's other zoning ordinances, which are all maintained by MuniCode and available on MuniCode's website. So it just moves the ordinance from its current location to be codified and incorporated with the overall county ordinances.
Any questions for Avery? Yes, sir, please.
On the bridge project, well, I left out, we had two amendments on that. One, to add the water line to the north side of the bridge structure, and the second amendment was to add the utility price to the bid specs. And also, Ms. Blackman is going to be drawing up a intergovernmental agreement between the county and the water authority for the water authority to repay us all of the utility costs to install the water line.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Any questions for Charles on that update? All right, hearing none. You all pack a lunch or a supper Tuesday night. We've got quite an agenda to go through. So if there's nothing further, we'll stand adjourned.